Evening, everyone. Jim here, joined again by Graham and Mike. Graham in the middle, Mike on the right for our latest Edexcel A-Level Business live stream session. Graham, what's on the menu for tonight?
Evening, Jim. Evening, Mike. First of all, I hope you both well. We've got the usual range of MCQs, a couple of calculation questions, definition spinner, give me three, lots of activities testing some core knowledge and understanding with a little bit of application from themes 1 and 2. Like always, we would love it if you use the chat window, type in your answers there. Any queries you may have, we will try and answer them as the session progresses. Jim will put some answers on screen.
Absolutely, yeah.
As well. So please get involved. Please get involved and take part. As always, we start with an activity called the Big Reveal. So we're going to show you 5 clues, and each clue relates to or will lead to the name of a business. All you need to do is see if you can work out the business from the clues. As soon as you think you've worked the business name out, then type it in the chat window. I think last time we beat the audience. I don't think anyone got it. So see if we can get it this time. Let's have a look at clue number 1. So this business was founded in 1969. So if you're thinking, I know a business that was founded in 1969, well, type that business into the chat window. If the business you're thinking of was founded in 1970, it's not going to be right. That's difficult to get it from clue number 1. Let's look at clue number 2 now. This first store located in Southampton. So it was founded in 1969. The first store was located in Southampton. Its headquarters is still in Southampton. I know because I used to work for this company and I visited head office on numerous occasions. So it was founded in 1969. It was located in Southampton, the first store. So we know it's a store. So I'm thinking retail here. Remember, retail is detail. So let's look at clue number 3. Orange. So there's a clue. Orange. Maybe the logo's orange. Maybe some of the uniforms orange. I don't know. Well, I do know. The first store was in Southampton. And it was founded in 1969. And it's got orange livery, however you pronounce it. Let's look at clue number 4. It was founded by Richard Block and David Quill. So founded by Richard Block and David Quill. Orange logo. Head office in Southampton, founded in 1969. Have we any possible answers in the chat window? Let's have a look. If you think you know any businesses that were founded by Richard Block and David Quill, type it in the chat window. Should we have a look? Clue number 5. I think we may have beaten the audience once more. So the final clue is DIY, which I think it stands for do it yourself. So it was founded by Richard Block and David Quill. So we have got some answers coming into the chat window now. Before I reveal it, I can't actually use the name of the business for copyright reasons. We can only show you the initials of the business, and the initials are, Jim, it's B&Q. So if we look at that, Block and Quill, B&Q, that's why it's called B&Q. And the reason, obviously, it was shortened to B&Q is because when Richard Block and David Quill were ordering stock from their suppliers, all the invoices were abbreviated to B&Q. So they decided to call the company B&Q. So there we are. Well done, everyone, for taking part. Let's move on to the fun stuff now. So let's look at the Boston Matrix. So according to the Boston Matrix, a product with a low market share in a high growth market is called a what? Is it a cash cow? Is it a star? Is it a question mark? Is it a dog? It's definitely one of those. So in the chat window, if you can type in A, B, C, or D, or you can type in the actual name of which one you believe it is. So according to the Boston Matrix, a product with a low market share in a high growth market is called, is it a cash cow? Is it a star? Is it a question mark? Is it a dog? We've got a few answers coming in, and I think there's a little bit of dispute. Some have gone for C, some are going for A. It's definitely one of those. It's definitely A, B, C, or D. Shall we reveal the answer? It is indeed, it is a question mark. It's a question mark because the market is growing. It's a high growth market, but this product only has a low market share. Maybe the business needs to milk its cash cows and put more resources into these type of products to perhaps turn them into stars. Now, in relation to the Boston Matrix, a common area students struggle with is getting the Boston Matrix and the Ansoff Matrix confused. That's why it's very important to have precise knowledge and understanding. So if you get a question on the Boston Matrix and mistake it for the Ansoff Matrix, that is going to really affect your overall mark. So be precise in your knowledge and understanding. Shall we have a look at another MCQ, please, Jim? So which of the following statements is true? So one of those statements is true, all the others are false. So a product with a PED of minus 0.5 is price elastic. Is that true or false? A product with a YED of minus 2 is a normal good. Is that true? Break even, fixed costs divided by variable cost per unit. Is that true? Pay is a hygiene factor. Is that true? Only one of those statements is true, but which one is it? So is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? So this question looks at 4 different areas. We've got break even, we've got PED, we've got YED, and we've got hygiene factors which relate to well, actually, I'll ask everyone after we've revealed the answer what hygiene factors relates to. So I think some's going for C. We've got A there. We've got A anymore for anymore. It's a difficult question, that, because PED and YED are areas that students generally do find difficult. So we've now got we've got an A, we've got B, we've got C. Shall we reveal the answer? And it is D. So let's quickly run through that. So a product with a PED of minus 0.5 is price inelastic. That's because it's less than 1 and we ignore the minus. So 0.5 tells us it's price inelastic. A product with a YED of minus 2. Now, in income elasticity of demand, we don't ignore the minus. It's very important. A minus figure tells us it's an inferior good. So that's false. Break even is not fixed cost divided by variable cost per unit. It's fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. And pay is indeed a hygiene factor. For a bonus point, can anyone type into the chat window what hygiene factors, whose model or theory does hygiene factors relate to? So to motivational theorist, do we know what motivational theorist hygiene factors relate to? There are 4 possible options on your spec. It could be, is it Maslow? Is it Hertzberg? Is it Mayo? Is it Taylor? What do we think? Do we know what hygiene factors relate to? I'll give everyone a few seconds to type that into the chat window. Do we know what hygiene factors relate to? Which motivational theorist? Good. It is really important. Well done, Shafi. Well done. It is Hertzberg. So Hertzberg's 2-factor theory of motivation and hygiene factors. Well done, Imogen. So of course, according to Hertzberg, hygiene factors merely reduce dissatisfaction as opposed to increase motivation. Well done, everyone. Should we do, we've got a couple of more MCQs. So which leadership style involves consulting with subordinates and evaluating their opinions before making a decision? Is it autocratic, democratic, paternalistic, or laissez-faire? A, B, C, or D? So autocratic, democratic, paternalistic, laissez-faire, which I do believe is French laissez-faire for let do. I don't speak French, but such is life. So is it autocratic, democratic, paternalistic, or laissez-faire? We've got some answers coming through. I think the majority are going for B. Shall we reveal the answer? It is indeed democratic. Well done. Now, remember, in an exam question, you may have to assess the value of a leadership style, such as a democratic leadership style. So remember, any assess question, if it's a 10-mark or 12-mark question, needs balance. If it's a 10 or 12-mark question, also needs a supported judgment. Have we got one more MCQ, or is it over to Mike? No, we got one more. So calculators at the ready. So last year, a business achieved a gross profit of £300,000. The cost of sales of the business last year was £500,000. What was the sales revenue of the business last year? So we've got the gross profit figure. We've got the cost of sales figure. But what was the sales revenue figure? Was it 200,000? Is it 1,500,000? Is it 800,000 or is it £1 million? So can we work out the sales revenue from those two figures? Is it 200,000? Is it 1.5 million? Is it 800,000? Is it £1 million? What do we think it is? So we've got the gross profit figure. We've got the cost of sales. All we need to do is manipulate the formula in order to work out sales revenue. Is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? I can certainly see the answer on screen. Now, so Shafi straight in there with C. Have we got any more? It could be right. Shall we reveal the answer, Jim, please? And it is. Well done. We got an answer there. It's not correct, but well done for having a go. It is 800,000. But why is it 800,000? Well, we know that sales revenue minus cost of sales is gross profit. Therefore, gross profit plus cost of sales must be sales revenue. And it is really important that you practice manipulating those formulas in case you get a question such as that. Thanks everyone for taking part. I'm going to hand you over to Mike now, who's going to do a 60-second challenge.
Thank you, Graham, and good evening, everyone. So we've got a 60-second challenge. Keep those calculators at the ready. This is price elasticity of demand. So we have a business that's increased the price of one of its products from £5 to £6. As a result, the quantity demanded fell from 10,000 units per month to 9,200 units per month. We're going to have 60 seconds here to calculate the price elasticity of demand of the product. Put your answers in the chat window, please. Here we go. Okay, there's our 60 seconds. Don't panic if you haven't got to an answer just yet, because in an exam situation, you would almost certainly allow yourself more than 1 minute to complete a calculation question. 4 marks for a calculation question. You would allow yourself more than a minute. So no panic. A few more seconds if you are still working. Answers in the chat window, please. Of course, we're looking for the price elasticity of demand of the product, the PED. The coefficient, we might call it. A few more seconds. Be brave. Put your answer in the chat window, and don't worry if it's not the correct answer. This is all about learning. Okay, let's have a look and reveal the answer. So we first of all need to work out the percentage change. We were given absolute changes. The percentage change in quantity demanded was difference between 10,000 and 9,200 divided by 10,000 times 100, it's minus 8%. It's fallen by 8%. So that represents minus 8%. The percentage change in price, it's gone from £6 to £5. That's a difference of £1 divided by the original, which is 5, gives a change in price of 20%. Now, the common mistake with PED calculations is to get the formula round the wrong way. Graham's just been talking about the importance of knowing your formulae, and PED is a central concept, really important concept, and so it's important to learn the correct formula here. It's the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. If you end up with an answer of minus 2.5 or 2.5, it's because you've got the figures around the wrong way. It's minus 8 divided by 20, or 8 divided by 20, and then put a minus in front of the answer. Minus 8 divided by 20 is minus 0.4. Minus 0.4. Remember, because of the law of demand, as a change in price is always going to have an opposite effect in terms of the quantity demanded. So the answer to the PED coefficient will always be negative. Can somebody tell me, put in the chat window please, what a coefficient of minus 0.4 means in terms of elasticity? Is this product price elastic or price inelastic? Minus 0.4. 50-50 chance here. Is it price elastic or price inelastic? What do you think? Answer in the chat window, please. Thanks, Lorenzo. It is indeed inelastic. Remember with PED, because it's always negative, we can ignore that minus sign. And therefore, if the answer is less than 1, 0.4, less than 1, it's going to be price inelastic. If it was greater than 1, it would be price elastic. PED, really, really important concept. Please make sure that you learn the correct formula and you also understand and are able to interpret what that coefficient means. Let's move on to another activity here. This is the definition spinner. So we're going to see some key terms on the screen and we're going to spin the wheel and see which of those key terms is selected. And the one that we select is the one we'd like you to define, please. Can we start the wheel, please, Jim? Thank you. Here it goes, spinning away, slowing up. Where's it going to stop? Oh, inflation. Topical stuff. Can we have a definition of inflation, please? Could be just a few words, I think, here. Inflation we could probably define relatively concisely. Definition of inflation in the chat window, please. Be brave, give it a go. Remember that understanding the meaning of different terms and concepts is going to be the key to answering more extended questions. You're not going to get any nice definition questions themselves, but you need to understand what these terms mean in order to be able to answer. Thanks, Imogen. So we've got increase in price over a certain period of time. Let's have a look at our answer. There we are. General rise in prices from somebody else there. So definition for us, please. Inflation is the increase in prices of goods and services over time, or general increase in prices of goods and services over time. The rate of inflation, of course, is how quickly prices go up. So at the moment, discussion in the news or reports in the news about double-digit inflation, the rate of inflation over 10%. So how quickly prices are rising. The higher the rate of inflation, the faster prices are rising in general. And Shafi, you're absolutely right. As a result of that, consumers have less buying power. Great stuff, guys. Really, really good. Let's do one more of those. If we could spin our connection spinner one more time, please, Jim. Hopefully it won't stop on inflation. There we are. Decentralization. Decentralization. If you were looking around the wheel there and hoping it would stop somewhere else, unlucky. It stopped on decentralization. If you're able to define all 6 of those, that's incredible. Well done. But let's go for decentralization, please. What's the definition of decentralization? What do we mean by that term? What is decentralization? Again, you can be relatively concise. You don't need to use lots and lots of words here, just enough to convey your understanding of the term. What do we mean by decentralization? If you're stuck on decentralization, then pay close attention here. Thank you very much. We've got decentralization where decision making is left for the lower level of the organization, and Shafi with decision power is delegated away from the center of the business. Excellent answers, really well done. Pretty close to what I think we've got here. So decentralization, decision making is spread out. It's spread out rather than being concentrated at the top of the hierarchy. It's spread out to include more junior managers in the hierarchy, as well as perhaps individual business units or trading locations. So different parts of an organization in different parts of the country or different parts of the world may be able to make their own decisions. Decentralization is more spread out. Centralization, it's much more concentrated. If you're looking around the connection spinner there and you're looking at the other terms, make sure that you know all of them, please. You get to a stage where you know all of them. Great stuff. Thanks for all your answers. G, I'll hand back to you for another 60-second challenge.
Cheers, Mike. And I'm very excited about this because the current ratio is my favorite ratio. So on screen, we've got a table showing some selected financial data for a business. So you've got the cash, the payables, the receivables, overdrafted inventory. All you need to do is use those figures to work out and calculate the current ratio. So you have 60 seconds or a minute, as Mike said. You know, all calculation questions for Edexcel A-Level Business are 4 marks. So don't worry if you can't do it in a minute, but have a go at least. See if you can work out the current ratio from the data on screen. Jim, start the music, please. Now remember the current ratio, one of the 2 key liquidity ratios you need to be familiar with, the other being the acid test ratio. Now, if you get a question like this and you think, well, I don't really know how to use those figures, but you know the formula for the current ratio, then you type in the if you wrote the formula in your exam paper, you're going to get a mark for that because you're going to show some knowledge. So never leave anything blank. Always write the formula down. Always show you're working out. And I think we've got some answers, excuse me, coming in the chat window. So we've got 1.6, we've got 2.65, we've got Shafi coming at 1.6 to 1, which is very precise. Remember, the current ratio and the liquidity ratio, the ratios should be expressed to 1. Shall we reveal the answer? And it is indeed 1.6 to 1. Now, if you were struggling on how to work that out, because that was difficult, you had to work out the total current assets. You weren't given the total current assets. And you also had to work out the current liabilities. So the current assets, in this case, cash of £100,000, receivables for 50,000, they are another current asset, and our inventory of 30,000, giving us total current assets of 180,000. Then you need to work out the current liabilities. Well, the current liabilities on screen were our payables of 62,500 and our overdraft of 50,000. So we divide current assets by current liabilities, and that gives us an answer of 1.6. But remember, we need it expressed as 1.6 to 1. Now, what that tells us is for every £1 of current liabilities, the business has £1.60 of current assets. Is that a good current ratio? Well, we don't know because we know nothing about the business. We don't know what the current ratio was before. Therefore, we can't really compare it with anything else. So remember, all about application. Make sure you root your answer in the context of the business you're writing about. Well done, everyone, for having a go at that. That was a difficult question. So I think it's over to you, Mike, to do an on-balance activity.
Yeah, thanks, G. We're going to scale it up here. Pound for pound, one of the best activities we do, I think. It's on balance. And what we're looking for here is 2 benefits to a business of operating in a niche market. 2 benefits of operating in a niche market. If you can only think of one, that's okay. Just give us that one in the chat window. If you can think of 2, that's even better. Give us the answers in the chat window. And then we can look at some other suggestions. So 2 benefits to a business of operating in a niche market. Of course, it requires us to have some niche market is. Answers coming in already. 2 benefits: less competition and potentially higher profits. Maybe even a stage before we get to the higher profits. We need to be able to understand why that is, but that is a fantastic start. A few more seconds for those of you still typing or still thinking perhaps. Benefit of operating in a niche market. We've had some excellent answers so far this evening, as always. And thanks, Lily. Ability to charge premium prices and, once again, less competition. Let's have a look at what we've put. And we'll find that you guys are very, very close, if not spot on. The ability to charge a higher price. Remember, a niche market is a small part of a larger market. So we might look at vegan food as part of the vegan food market. Sorry, as part of the wider food market. So selling to a smaller part of that market, may be able to charge a higher price. And of course, because it's a smaller part of the market, there may be less competition, both advantageous to businesses. However, this is called on balance. So we do need to look at the other side of the argument. Don't want to spoil the suspense for you, but we're going to look now at the drawbacks, two downsides, two disadvantages of operating in a niche market. Two downsides of operating in a niche market. See, Shafi, that you've asked a very polite question there. Why can they charge a higher price? Well, they're selling a more specialist product to perhaps a more specialist market, and therefore people are prepared to pay a higher price to get that more specialist product. Hopefully that answers your question. In the meantime, the rest of you can be adding disadvantages to the chat window, please. Two downsides, or even just one downside of operating in a niche market. And here they've come through already. We've got limited growth and lack of benefit from economies of scale. This is almost like a textbook in some cases. This is really good. Incredible answers coming through. And Shafi, you're most welcome. Imogen as well. Yeah, wonderful. And even some explanation in there, not just the points made, not just the disadvantages, but some explanation as well. So once again, let's have a look at what we've got. So likely to attract competition if the niche is growing and successful, but we've also picked up on the limited opportunities for economies of scale. Of course, if we're operating in a niche market, if a business is operating in a niche market, then the output is going to be lower, selling to a smaller part of the market, so therefore less opportunities perhaps to benefit from economies of scale. And if that niche proves to be very successful, then other possibly larger firms may choose to enter, and so competition may increase. Superb stuff. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for your contributions. G, I think you've got one more activity from you and then it's back to me, isn't it?
It is, Mike. Cheers. And they were superb answers. Well done, everyone. So our next question is on screen. It's a two-statement question. So we need to read the two statements. So statement one, outsourcing involves employing staff to undertake processes previously done by external suppliers. Statement two, qualitative research is concerned with opinions, attitudes, beliefs, and intentions. All you need to do is decide whether those statements are true or false and select A, B, C, or D. So if you believe statement one is true and statement two is true, then select A, please. So in the chat window, please type in A, B, C, or D. What do we think? So Shafi straight in there with a suggested answer, believing that statement one is false and statement two is true. Any more suggestions there? So you need to read these carefully and decide whether each statement is true or is it false. Now remember, you don't get any MCQs in the Edexcel A-Level Business exam, but doing MCQs as part of the sessions allows us to cover lots of different topics. So we've got someone who disagrees with Shafi there, who believes statement one is false and statement two is false. Shall we reveal the answer, please, Jim? And statement one is false. And statement two is true. So outsourcing involves employing staff to undertake processes previously done by external suppliers. Well, that's the wrong way around. So outsourcing is actually getting external suppliers to do work that was previously done by staff. And statement 2 is true. Qualitative research is concerned with opinions, attitudes, beliefs, and intentions. Now, that term there, qualitative research, often gets confused with quantitative research, which is research that's more numerical data that can be easily analysed. And it is really important, again, that you are precise in your knowledge and understanding so you don't get terms like qualitative and quantitative research muddled up. Shall we have a look at one more of these before I hand us back over to Mike? So our next 2 statement question is, according to Taylor, piecework is likely to motivate employees. So Taylor, a key motivational theorist. So that's statement 1. Statement 2, after a 5% increase in capacity and output, the unit costs of a business increased by 2%. This is an example of economies of scale. So after a 5% increase in capacity and output, unit costs also increased by 2%. Is this an example of economies of scale? Is that true or false? And statement 1, according to Taylor, piecework is likely to motivate employees. Is that true or is that false? So answers starting to come in now. What do we think? So I think we've got a few different, I think we've got a couple of B's in there. We've got a couple of C's. Read both statements carefully. I think statement 1's pretty clear. I think statement 2 is which I thought was the more challenging, but I think most people are getting those right. Shall we have a look at that, please, Jim? So statement 1 is true. So according to Taylor, piecework is likely to motivate employees. Remember, piecework is paying people the amount they produce. So according to Taylor, and that's one of Taylor's takeaways, really, that piecework is likely to motivate employees. That is true. And statement 2 is false. It's an example of economies of scale, because as capacity and output has increased, unit costs have also increased. That is not an economy of scale. It is a diseconomy of scale. And again, make sure you don't get those 2 really important concepts mixed up. Economies of scale, very different from diseconomies of scale. So different, it's the exact opposite. So I'm going to hand you over to Mike now, who's going to do our final activity. Give me 3.
Thanks, G. Yeah, we're going to do give me 3. I'm going to go against the clock. That's always good practice. We're going to go back to price elasticity of demand, and this time we're going to look at factors that influence the price elasticity of demand of a product or service. So factors that will determine whether the product is relatively price elastic or inelastic. We're looking for 3. See if you can give us at least 1. Let's start the timer, please, Jim. Great stuff. Only 30 seconds there, but already we've got some great answers coming through, and Jim's putting those on the screen, and we're really accurate once again with what we're putting in there. So thank you very much. Imogen, I'm just looking at yours there. Whether the good is a necessity or a luxury. Availability of close substitutes. Shafi, market share, marketing, inflation rate. We'll come back to that in a second. And we've also got substitutes and the type of the product. Let's look at 3 answers that we've got, several of which appear amongst yours. Thanks, Lily, for your contribution as well. So whether the product is a luxury or necessity, we'd expect luxury products to be more price elastic. Demand there is going to be more sensitive, more responsive to a change in price, whereas with necessities, bread and milk and so forth, they are relatively price inelastic, and demand will be much less responsive to a change in price. You guys also picked up on the availability of substitutes. If there are a greater number of substitutes for a product, then demand will be much more sensitive to a change in price. Demand will be much more price elastic. If there are relatively few substitutes, then demand will be more price inelastic. And also the proportion of income spent on the product or service. So greater percentage of income is going to make it more price elastic, going to be more sensitive, because it's going to have a more significant impact. And those products, those insignificant spends perhaps that take a lower proportion of income, a packet of chewing gum or something like that, are going to be much less sensitive and so be more price inelastic. Somebody talked about the type of product. We might talk about the level of addiction or how habit forming a product is. The more addictive it is, the more price inelastic it's likely to be. And although I don't think I saw it in the chat window, you might talk about time and products becoming more price elastic over time as consumers have more opportunity to shop around and to find alternatives. Brilliant answers, absolutely superb throughout that session. And that brings us to the end of this evening's. So thank you very much, everybody, for your contributions.
Yeah, many thanks to everyone who's added entries into the live chat. Tried to get as many as possible onto the screen. Not everyone got their entries displayed, but we do appreciate that, and great answers. If you've enjoyed the session, of course, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on replay, hopefully you found the session useful too. Graham, what's on the menu for next week? What are we doing?
Oh, we are doing, yes. We are doing a mix of quantitative skills and numerical concepts. It won't be all calculations, but it will be based around, maybe financial topics, numerical concepts, numerical topics, quant skills, that type of thing, general MCQs, a couple of calcs, some definition spinners, no doubt, lots of opportunities for you to get involved and type in your answer. I thought the answers were great tonight. So well done, everyone. If you enjoyed that, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also for more help and support, please follow us on the gram. We are all over it. Tutor to You Business on Instagram. We're posting daily revision questions, videos, business in the news, extra help and support, lots of interaction happening on there. So I think on behalf of Mike, Jim and myself, thank you so much for getting involved, and hopefully we'll see you the same time, 5:30 next Tuesday, for more fun and frolics for Edexcel A-Level Business. Thanks very much, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.